Why do you like twist endings?
I guess I loved them as a kid growing up. I loved trying to see the twist coming, trying to solve it. I rarely could as a kid, and I just love the idea of your expectations and your experience kind of being turned on its head, and with something else all along. I love that, and I've on Ghost Whisperer we started developing this idea of twists with every episode, and then twist upon twists and all kinds of things. And so I really got very comfortable with it in that and loved it. And now in these short films, I'm doing it all the time. I just, almost all of them have had at least one twist. I usually try to get 3 twists in to really confuse the audience so that they don't see it coming. And in a short film, it's particularly difficult because you have so little time to lay the pipe for a twist. And so the audience, and if they know there's going to be a twist, they know they're watching this film because it can't possibly just be this. There's got to be something else going on with this character. So you have to, it's a delicate balance of having to try to redirect the audience and sort of have a red herring twist that they think it's going to be, and then the actual twist, which they can never see coming. And every movie I do, it becomes harder and harder to come up with that twist of, well, we never saw that coming. But it's fun. It's a great challenge to do it.
Why would you say it's become harder? Is that because so much has been done?
So much has been done, and there's a thing of trying to top yourself. And again, it's the short film sort of format. And sometimes I just start with the ending when I'm trying to develop a twist. I start with the ending, and then I go backwards. How many convolutions can I take away from this ending that makes it a surprise or makes it a twist? And then by doing it backwards, sometimes I can write a script in a linear way, beginning to end, with one final twist. But then I'll go backwards and think about where else can I put another twist? Where is there, look, in scene 3, I could plant this seed that no one's going to really notice, but then it's going to pay off in this scene. And then when the twist happens, everyone will be an aha moment of, oh, that's why those things were there. So it's a mechanical thing in a way. It's like a craftsman kind of thing to do a good twist. And so now I kind of love them. And every time I write a short film, I become terrified I'm not going to be able to find a good twist or enough of them.
What is a Hollywood ending, and what's wrong with a Hollywood ending?
I don't know what that means today. I think at a certain point in film history, it referred to the idea of everyone is happy, everything's tied up in a bow, and you leave the theater completely satisfied and everything's good. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that, and that's certainly what a lot of people go to the movies for. They don't want to have enough depression and unhappiness in their lives. They don't need to see it on screen. But for an artist, it's normally just an unsatisfying way to work. And for most writers and directors and actors, you just want to do work that reflects life a little more. It doesn't have to be not uplifting, but realistic. Just want it to be a little more realistic. And I think that the idea of a Hollywood ending, it's not really prevalent that much anymore. I think because of the streaming, influx of streaming services and digital everything, I think audiences are growing more sophisticated and are more willing to accept a convoluted ending or a more complex ending. And I haven't gotten a note like that in years about an ending to make it more palatable or more Hollywood.
How do you pull off a twist ending?
Well, it's really like a magician's trick. It's about misdirection. It's about telling the audience to look over here when what I'm really doing is over here. And it's really tricky because we were just talking about how sophisticated audiences are today. So, they see it coming right away. So you really got to be careful. And what I try to do with like a triple twist kind of a thing is I set something up that the audience right away feels like, oh, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be, I know it, I can tell right away. And you play that along. And then at the same time, I try to introduce what I would call the red herring twist, which is a little thing that you you weave into a scene that you do it in such a way that the audience is going to notice it, and they're going to think that they just caught you. This is why this guy's there, because in the end it's going to be that. And you play that in a few scenes. You play those expectations, and you try to disguise it. Like, I'm being clever now, and I'm going to try to pull this over on you, but you're too smart for me. And in the meantime, there's a third thing that just comes out of the blue that they never saw coming. It's been there the whole time, because you can't just do a Deus ex machina. You can't just. You've got to have it woven in, but it's something that they never really thought about as something's going to pay off. So, this sounds very esoteric. It's becomes more obvious in the actual execution of it. But that's the way I do it. And like oftentimes my first pass on a script, I'll do the obvious choice and then the red herring choice, and then I got to really struggle to figure, okay, how is it even different, even another twist on this twist that we plant in the beginning that no one realizes we've been tracking this whole time. So it's fun. It's great fun to pull it off. And what's wonderful about it, and I love about my short films, is to sit in an audience, in a theater, at a film festival, and have people react to those twists. It's fantastic. And it's one of the things I love about short films, by the way, because of my TV work, I wasn't connected to the audience. Everyone's watching on TV in their home, and I don't know. But on the film festival circuit, where I'm a regular with these short films, it's phenomenal. And people seem to love short films. These screenings are packed. And we get these big theaters, and it's about as good an experience as you can have making a movie, watching your story unfold, even if it's just 10 minutes, with an audience that gets it.
Is there a director, a writer-director that you remember from the beginning, watching movies back in Brooklyn, that was the master of the twist ending?
Well, I guess Hitchcock, of course, comes to mind, immediately. But I think I became more enamored as a kid of the twist ending in literature, things that I would read. And, you have so much more opportunity to do twists in fiction because your readers can't see anything. So you could be describing a character or a location in a way that can disguise the fact that it's really this, or this person's really that person, the unreliable narrator. But you don't have that luxury with a movie because they're seeing everything you're doing. So it's that much more challenging. But the answer to the question is, as a kid, I remember reading detective fiction and that kind of stuff, and really being drawn in by a good twist that I didn't see coming.
Should the end of a story always tie back to the beginning?
I don't know if it always, like a rule. I think it's great if it does. It's a great thing visually to do, and I think it gives the audience more of a feeling that they've done this complete journey. I did not to aggrandize myself, but I did a movie once about the relationship between Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, and I began the movie in Dean Martin's dressing room on a close-up of a glass of scotch with ice cubes in it. And I held on it for a long time. In the background, you could hear a nightclub. You could hear some muffled comic and people laughing and hooting. And then a hand came into the frame and took the drink, and we revealed Dean Martin. And at the end of the movie, when they break up, it also happens this time in Jerry's dressing room. And they're saying goodbye. They just had their farewell performance at the Copacabana. We've gone through like 10 years of their lives. And when Dean says goodbye, and they just have this very awkward kind of parting, full of pain. Talk about subtext. They're dying inside, each one of them, but neither one can talk about it. They can just do these perfunctory, good show, yeah, best one, okay, good, take care. Meantime, it's like, oh, don't leave me. So we did the scene, and then afterwards, I leave with Jerry just looking in the mirror when Dean's walked away, and I pan down and I find a glass of scotch. Just mirror the first shot, totally. And so, that's just an example. Again, not that but I'm such a genius, but those are really great visual ways to tie things in. And I had to fight with the network about keeping that. This is, cut on his face, just cut out on his face. No, there's a reason. But anytime you can tie in the beginning to the end or any other part of the movie, callbacks are always, the joke in movies, you can never pull a gun on screen without having that gun play somehow in the movie. You can't show it. And I feel like that's true about everything in a movie. You can't introduce anything in a film that doesn't somehow call back later. And even if it's a character, everything in the movie has to be there for a reason. And I think it teaches you a great discipline in writing if you try to apply that to everything you write. Okay, I'm going to introduce this prop, this person, this event, and it can't be just there for the sake of being there. It's got to be there to serve the story. And so how do we call it back later on?
And callbacks are different than bookending?
I suppose so. I mean, I think they can be the same, but they can also be different in that, a callback, just could be even a fun thing where we see a joke introduced at the beginning of a film. Someone always loses their glove, and then a third of the way through the film that comes up again, that lose the glove. And again, it's an example of like never let something go to waste. Don't introduce someone who loses the glove, and then not somehow bring that back later, not pay that off in some way. So I think if you have to be strict about it, bookends obviously being in the end of a film. And callbacks can just happen anywhere in the body of a movie. But also, I don't want to feel like there's rules like that. There really aren't. It's just about what you feel works for your story.